One of the most asked questions in the world has to do with identity and purpose. Who am I and why am I here? Identity strengthens purpose because if you know who you are, what you are here for will follow suit. I immediately think of an entity, an individual with an essence. Identity tells us who a person is, not necessarily what they do, but who they are, their very essence. In the world today, identity might tell us of your name, that is to say, who you are in the society. If I mention names like Otedola, and you'll be like, yes, nah, big name be that. But then identity transcends life's events, transcends your achievements, failures, results. It's consistent. It's something that doesn't change.
Hey there, family. It's time to rewrite narratives that shape family life. This is the Family Journal.
One of the most asked questions in the world has to do with identity and purpose. Who am I and why am I here? And I think this is because identity strengthens purpose. Because if you know who you are, what you are here for will follow suit. Today on the Family Journal, we're going to be dealing on the topic of identity. Some people may be wondering what identity has to do with family, while others may think that this episode has to do with the chronicles of events that happened that would lead to your ancestry and then, who you are where from. But then it is quite different from that. You see, whenever the word identity comes to mind, everybody has a lot of thoughts. Thoughts like, who are you? What is your name? But then whenever it crosses my mind, I immediately think of an entity, an individual with an essence. Identity tells us who a person is, not necessarily what they do, but who they are, their very essence. In the world today, identity might tell us of your name, that is to say, who you are in the society. If I mention names like Otedola, and you'll be like, yes, nah, big name be that. But then identity transcends what we do. It transcends life's events, transcends your achievements, failures, results. It's consistent. It's something that doesn't change. So let me take us back in time. So I looked up my concordance. I was just studying the Bible and I looked up my concordance. I was searching for the word identity and I didn't find any, but I found the word image. And I was like, okay, let's go through it. And yes, truly, the first place you're going to ever hear the word image would be in the book of Genesis when the Bible was telling us about creation, right? And then after that, the only other places you would see image written down was when the Bible talked about people creating idols for themselves, idols they could turn to. And I think the other last place you would find the word image has to do in 2 Corinthians 3:18 and maybe Romans. What am I trying to say in essence? Image and identity have a lot in common because your identity is who you are and image is something that is from the inside, what you believe and what you would continue to be or continue to look like as you're on this earth. So I looked up the origin of the word identity, and its origin comes from Latin, and it says idem in Latin, which means the same. You can also say zehot in Hebrew, which means this, like THIS, this. And then in Greek, it says tautotita. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but what it means in Greek is the same, sameness, or that. So what am I trying to say? The idea of identity doesn't change. Your identity doesn't change. Who you were right from when you were a child is who you would always be. That is to say, you remain the same. Life events can happen. Things can go bad or become better, but your identity will always remain the same. The concept of identity in its essence revolves around the idea of sameness, being the same. It refers to an individual or a thing maintaining who they are, their very essence. So back to the former story. Remember when I said identity and image have a lot in common? Because whatever you continue to look at consistently, whatever you continue to feed your soul or your eyes or spirit, is who you become in the end of the day. If you continue to think about failure, you become a failure. If you continue to think about prosperity and you continue to work towards it, you become prosperous. But that doesn't mean that your identity will change. It just means that your whole existence will focus on that very thing. And that is why the Bible was very, very clear when it stated that God made us in his image and after his likeness. So now, God's image is consistent. God is not a God that changes. When Adam and Eve sinned, when Cain killed his brother, when the Tower of Babel was built, when the flood covered the earth, a lot of crazy, chaotic events has happened. Yet, God has not stopped being God. God is still God. And that definitely reminds every single one of us that your identity doesn't change because you failed at something. Your identity doesn't change because you missed your exams or you failed at your exams or you failed at starting a business or you failed as a parent. Your identity doesn't change. These are life events that happen because we are humans and then we are living in a world. Okay, so your identity doesn't change because you got the job or because you built a company, because you've impacted lives. No, those are life events, results of your existence. And so when the Bible now says that God made us after his likeness, that definitely tells you and I that the things that God is capable of doing, we are also capable of doing that. Now let's look at humanity as a whole. Even people who are not Christians are wonderful creators because, of course, their very image is a creator. God is creator. God is a problem solver. God is a builder. God is intelligent. He's a teacher. He's loving. In fact, I feel like we don't say this often, but each and every one of us embodies the character of God to an extent. We have parents who are loving. God is a loving father. We have parents who are teachers. God is a teacher. We have parents who are compassionate. There are so many parts of God that we embody without even knowing. This is not to say that we are equal with God. No, this tells you that God will always be God and we will always be made in his image. Now, every human being was born with a potential to be great, potential to create things, potential to cause war, potential to do evil. Every single person was born with a potential. Now, how you move through life determines the results that you will birth. This is where people get it wrong. Your identity is not your mistake. Your identity is not the mistakes your parents made. Your identity is not who your friends have told you that you are. That teacher who said you did not know anything, that friend who called you stupid, that is not your identity. Your identity is who God says you are. And the Bible also lets us know that. You are wonderfully made by God. I'm sorry for those who are not Christians and Bible scholars, because this is the only way I can explain identity without taking things out of context. So, if God was consistent through life's event, if God is still God and his nature has not changed, you and I have a responsibility to remain who we are. We're not supposed to shape-shift just because we failed at a business. We're not supposed to shape-shift because maybe your daughter did something bad, then you say, oh, her identity has changed. No. Your identity remains your identity. The only thing here is life's event has happened. So when understanding your identity as a person, know that you are wonderfully made. You have potentials. You are creative. You are excellent. That you are such an amazing being who just needs to pay attention to all the amazingness that has been deposited in them. And know that if you do so through life's course, you will impact the world powerfully. But if you don't, life might as well take a different turn on you. So regardless of how many times you fail, regardless of how many times you win, your achievements, what people say about you, that does not define your identity. I want people to listen to this and know this, because when you define who you are, that is when you know what you are to do. You embrace all of you. You don't look out, and see what other people are doing and try to follow. Because here's one thing people are missing, like a lot of people are missing. We are trying to be like everybody else instead of ourselves. Now remember, in the society, in the world today, family is the primary building block of society, okay? Every single person from different family, different tribes, different race, coming together to build a society, bringing their different ideologies, different cultures, backgrounds, everything, their uniqueness, just shining it out there. So now imagine if the whole world is trying to do what one person is doing. Imagine if the whole world is trying to dress the same, speak the same. It's going to be boring. It's going to be, I won't say chaotic, because these days chaotic is beautiful in my eyes to an extent, but it's going to be such a uniform society without color, without uniqueness. There would not be variant, and it wouldn't even make sense. It wouldn't. You would get tired, and you would see that even you who has refused to embrace who you are will start to see reasons why you should embrace who you are. So what am I trying to say? Back to the Bible. God has always advised us, to always look to Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, so we don't faint in our minds. The truth is that even if you discover today that, okay, my identity is separate from life's event, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you may not second guess or doubt yourself. You may in the course of life. But if you separate achievements, results, and life's event from who you are, I promise you that even when you fall flat on your face, you will know that I am still Jane Adele. I am who I am. And then every other thing will flow, because knowing who you are and the things that you are capable of will always make you want to continue doing what you're supposed to do. It will build such a crazy resilience and grit in you that you will not even know where the superpower came from. Because I've come to understand that life is always from within. Everything starts from within. How we see the world, how we see people, it's always from within. And if your within is not pure, if it is not beautiful, then what you will give off is exactly what is inside of you. So you're to look at God to see who you are. If God is consistent, if God's nature has never shapeshifted for once, then my nature, I owe myself to stay true to who I am. That's the truth. I owe myself to stay true to who I am. Remember, I looked for the origin of the word, and it means the same, sameness, not changing. So your identity does not change. Because even when I was, doing the research and studying for this particular episode, I came across different theories by philosophers. Example, the body philosophy that says that our identity comes from our body, that we maintain the same bodies till we leave the earth. But if you think about it, your bones are shaped every now and then from birth. Your blood cells, every now and then they are renewed. Every part of you is changing. So are you going to say, oh, because my body has changed or has not changed, my identity has changed? No. Or is it the theory from the crazy scientist that says our identity is found in our memories? My dear, some memories are painful. And so if you are telling me that my identity is found in my memories, then definitely Locke's theory is telling me that if I was raped, my identity is the one who was raped. If I was bruised and abused, that means my identity is, oh, I was abused. And maybe I might not be getting Locke's idea entirely, but then your identity is that you are wonderfully made by a God, a wonderful God, Most High God, and then that you are capable of so much. That is your identity. Your identity is found in Christ. If God did not change, you shouldn't change. So the hurt does not define you. Depression, failure, trauma, confusion, limitation, the fickleness of life and things should not define you. Even your achievements, because all of these are life's events. They are customary happenings every human being will have to face as long as you're on this earth. Here's an instance. You don't stop being your father's child or identifying as a family member just because you failed an exam, okay? I know your parents will be angry and they will say all manner of things, but then it doesn't cut you from the lineage. When you're only cut from that lineage when you renounce your family. Your identity is only taken from you when you deny your identity. Yes, you deny it. Oh, I'm no longer here. But the truth is, you are from this family. Oh, I'm no longer Jane. But the truth is, you will always be Jane. Even if you change your name, you will always be who you are. Not the person who made that mistake years ago. Not the person who fell in the wrong hands. No, you will always be you. You who is wonderfully made, excellent, and capable of many amazing things. So remember that when you let go of your identity, you let go of who you are, your originality, and the uniqueness it births every time you dare to shine your light. I'll give you an example of how not knowing identity can affect you. When I was growing up, there were times I would try to do something and I would fail the first time. And because I failed multiple times at several things, I'll just easily give up and just get disconnected and stop trying entirely. But then I realized that failure is part of life. It's part of learning, okay? If you don't fail at something, that means you've always known it, right? So let's say you're learning how to code, or you're learning how to draw, or you're learning how to write. When you start writing newly, your first sentence will be crappy. Everything will be crappy because you don't know how to do that thing. But then when you continue, when you're persistent, it grows over time. And so is failure. Failure just tells you you don't know that thing and you should still push forth. But when you give up just because you think you are a failure, you are giving your mind the license to accept failure as an identity. That is a false identity that can never replace who you are. Because if you stop thinking that way and pick up from where you left off, you would realize that your mind will be rewired to execute and then give you the success or the results that you desire. Now, just think about how you've lived life so far. Think about your responses to challenges. Think about how you feel about yourself, how you relate with people, and how you anticipate the future. It will tell you a lot about who you think that you are, or what you think you are, or capable of doing. Now, how does this topic relate to family? Like I said earlier, we make up the society. So if children are taught on the topic of identity early on, letting them know, I call you Oluchi. You are Oluchi, wonderfully, beautifully, amazingly made, and you are made for more. Oluchi, you can do anything you put your mind to. You have so much potentials. Try, and even if you fail, know that it is part of life's process. You should keep moving. Because the truth is, even if I try to teach a child about confidence today, or I try to teach a child about grit and resilience, if the part of identity is not handled, the child will always second guess themselves, even if they are trying to learn to be confident. Everything starts from within. Who am I? The confidence that you are looking for starts from knowing your identity, and your identity therefore leads you to your purpose, and every other thing follows forth. It may not be smooth, but if every single person knows that, oh my God, I don't need to find my identity. I have one. It's always here. I just need to recognize it. I just need to see it. You'd see that life would be more easier, like so better for every one of us, and then would stop all the struggling, the back and forths with life and its many issues. So what do we do with all of this information? Sit back and reflect on life's event and remind yourself every day that you are always going to be you, the amazing, wonderfully, excellently created being that is made for more, that is capable of so much. Remind children, tell children, teach them this lesson. Let them know that regardless of what anybody says to them tomorrow, because there's this thing I always tell my students, I say the friend that tells you are beautiful today can tell you that you are ugly tomorrow. And if you are basing your identity or your feelings on what somebody else said when they were in a good mood, what happens when the person is not in a good mood? Because of course, like I said in the beginning, everything on this earth is fickle, including our emotions. We are fickle. We can change the way we feel about somebody, how we think about something, just because we feel a certain type of way. You should also let children know that they don't need to share in the feelings of another person. So let's say somebody's in a bad mood and the person says your hair is ugly. You should remind your children that the person said that because that was how they felt. And out of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And so they shouldn't take it seriously. Even if the person meant it, you shouldn't take it seriously. You shouldn't share in their emotions because you know that you're beautiful, because you know that you're wonderfully made. Everything about you is amazing. And so that is what identity does for a human being. And from there, you start to see the abilities that you've been gifted with. And then you start to move through how to harness them, how to build and refine. Okay. You don't stop at knowing that you are capable of something. You start working towards those things. And even when the abilities are taken from you because of one incident or the other, or maybe you fail at something, or probably somebody does something to you, or you win at something, or you start to glow and excel, it doesn't change who you are. We should teach children how to separate identity from life's events, from activities, from gifts, from talents. You are always going to be who you are. Regardless, you are always going to be who you are. And I just truly hope that every child out there gets to hear this from any adult, because it is actually going to boost their morale. It's actually going to help them understand and then move through life with so much grit and resilience. It's going to help them transform the way they think and see the world differently in such a way that their heads are held high. I hope this particular episode actually refines something in your heart, and I hope that it spreads the message I intend it to spread. Lastly, before I go, I want to thank every single person who has streamed all our episodes. I think we've had 13 episodes so far, starting from the introduction, why family, discipline versus abuse, man up culture. We've had so many amazing episodes, and then we've had people comment, we've had people come into my DM to say things, to tell me, oh Jane, I really love what you said about so and so, and then I can relate with this and this and that. Thank you guys so much. You have no idea how your kind words have inspired me and prompted me to do more. And I really want to appreciate every single person who has shared this episode to other people, letting them know, oh, the Family Journal is talking about things that affect you and I. And for every single person who has made, amendments or adjustments to life's events or, activities, making sure that everyone is bonding at home. Like I said, we are here to rewrite narratives, but also the Family Journal is here to build strong family bonds. So I want to say a big thank you for sticking with us all through season 1. We are ending with identity because when we are back, we're going to talk about other interesting topics following identity. I love you guys so much, and I want to say a happy Sunday to you all. Thank you for sticking with us. I remain your host and family member, Jane Adele.
Thank you for listening to the Family Journal. To share your story or your topics with us, reach out to us on familyjournalstories@gmail.com. If you want to keep it anonymous, you can reach out to us on Instagram @the Family Journal and get the anonymous link in our bio. Thank you.